sight and building a false reality on lies and deception for far too long. And now, their time is coming to an end. It's time to fight back, to wake up, and to begin an uprising. Now is a time for judgment.
This is a time for judgment. Welcome to today's show. The food shortage preparation continues on. Now we have this new imminent threat, and obviously we have the diesel threat, the diesel fuel. Now we have this new imminent threat again of the railroad being shut down. And this is going to have huge effects. It's going to be two shots in one here. They're going to take care of the economy. This is going to tank the markets. I mean, big time. Okay, they're claiming that the U.S. economy is going to lose $1 billion in the first week of the strike, and two, there's going to be massive food shortages again, as well as supply chain shortages, which means other items that are needed. You know, some people hear like supply chain shortage, and they're like, oh yeah, you know, there'll be less things on the shelf to buy for Christmas. That's how their hive minds think. They're like, oh, big deal. There's not going to be, you know, a new Toy Story toy in the stores or something. I'll have to get something different, or there's going to be less clothes at Walmart. This is about necessities being taken away and changing the way that we all live. That is part of Agenda 2030. That is how they're going to get the carbon footprint in place, and they're going to use scapegoats like the boogeyman in Russia, the outbreak, and now railroad shortages, all things that are really convenient. Things that you would think our government would be focusing on because, you know, we could use food, right, to survive and water. But no, the government focuses on certain communities of weak, mentally disturbed people who should be institutionalized. Those are the things that they spend their time talking about at the podium, not things that the government's actually supposed to talk about, which would be things like this. So this is the newest thing. This is the railroad strike that's imminent.
Well, we could be in for some trouble on the track.
These are our favorite $10 dinners.
Haitian rice and chicken. It's a spice blend with herbs, vegetables.
I'm making chili. It's the perfect everyday meal.
At Walmart, I can get everything I need. I just want to save money.
Exactly.
Tracks, the nation is facing a growing risk of a crippling railroad strike in 2 weeks. Reporter Andrew Hobner shares what that can mean for the supply chain issue as we steam ahead into the holiday shopping season.
Trouble on the rails.
It is a very tense time in agriculture, I think, across the country, particularly in California.
After one of the 10 railway unions rejected a new deal, a full strike is looming.
California is heavily dependent on shipments of feed from the Midwest. We do not produce all the feed that we need.
If an agreement is not reached by December 8th, the strike could begin the day after. And that's worrying local farmers.
Anything that's going to drive up the cost of products and equipment is going to be taken on by the farmer.
From large farms to smaller producers like those in the Community Alliance with Family Farmers, everyone is affected.
I don't think right now our economy can take it. It's about a $2 billion loss a day for our economy.
And a disruption to those inputs could create chaos.
If we cannot get those in a timely fashion, we cannot meet the windows of fertilizing our crops. It could be a lost season.
For farmers and the economy.
Everyone is touched by rail. 40% of everything moved in the United States is done so by rail.
Which has led to thoughts of more self-sustainability.
As we see supply chain disruptions, there's really a call for reevaluating how our economic system operates.
Which could similarly be hampered by a loss of supply.
Those people trying to be early adopters and adjust to a changing supply chain are going to be caught up right in the middle of it.
As the California Farm Bureau works with other states in the hope Congress intervenes.
So, in addition to the economy getting tanked, remember, they have to destroy the economy, and the economy will eventually be destroyed. The economy, you know, they've got enough people invested in the economy, and one human trait, you know, if you look at human behavior, you talk to people who invest in stocks, and I know many people who do, and I do not, they will not sell if they lose any money. they're like, oh, it'll go back up, and they've gotten people used to that over the years with the 2007 or 8, that huge crash that they had. They've tested it out and they've watched and studied the data to see how many people sold and how many people stayed in. And then the people who stayed in, they're like, oh, thank goodness I stayed in. I ended up making a boat. Well, eventually it's going to crash and it's not going to come back. And if there was ever a government in place that would make people believe that the actual economy crash was based off of stupidity and not being done deliberately, it would be this one. That narrative would not work with Trump. Unless we went to World War III or something, maybe they could twist it that way. But it works perfectly with these buffoons that are in power. And again, this is part of the show. These people are all playing their roles. And then, of course, on top of that, as you heard, now places like California, Wyoming, they're talking about massive food shortages with this railroad strike. So they say in the first 3 days alone, U.S. workers and consumers could see potential losses of $250 million as a transit strike involving rail is one of the most expensive and disruptive events that can happen to the economy. People don't realize that. So they have this other boogeyman in place, which is this union that's apparently the union was offered like 50% raises and they still turned it down. So that just tells you that the people who are the heads of these unions are obviously compromised. Because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are like, why would we turn down a 50% raise? Especially at a time like this. Why would we turn... Let me get the exact numbers here. And again, this tells you how bogus this is as far as the unions and the union representatives. I've talked about how they've infiltrated... They haven't just infiltrated Congress. They haven't just infiltrated Hollywood. I mean, they've always been in Hollywood controlling that. So they can, the CIA's always been there. But they've infiltrated unions. They've infiltrated all things that are necessary for them to get where they want to get. Which is, again, to change our way of life, to bankrupt everyone, to have one class of people, and these other people who will rule over us, who will be all these celebrities and all these politicians, and everybody will just grovel at their feet. But this is what they rejected. They rejected contracts that would have granted the workers their biggest wage increase in 50 years, immediate 14% raises with back pay, and 24% raises over the course of 5 years, plus $1,000 cash bonuses every year. So it sounds like a pretty good deal, right? And they're saying, well, the government might have to step in, and maybe the government will tell us that they step in, okay? Maybe there's a chance that they do because they want to give the illusion that this government's actually functioning, and then they'll just do some shortage from a different angle. But the fact of the matter is that we shouldn't even be having these conversations about shortages. We shouldn't, and they just continue to just tell everybody that all these things are, it's Putin, it's the Democrats, it's Ukraine doesn't have wheat, it's the outbreak, set the world back, it's the railroad, next thing you know, there's nothing. Then you look around and you go, well, why were farmers not farming? The farmers were told to burn their crops. Oh, okay. Which they were. So they say economic impacts caused by a national railroad strike include lost wages for the industry's workers and production slowdowns due to non-delivery of critical components in some valuable industries.
Sorry for the noise and whatnot, guys, in the commercials. We only do so much about it. Yikes.
Those industries could include ethanol, retail, and agriculture, of course. The Retail Industry Leaders Association is calling on policymakers to intervene. Calculations show a first-day impact of approximately $60 million, including... And look, they might let the strike go for a few days, and then, Biden came in and saved it, and just give the economy another tank down, another level. Because some people think like they're going to wake up and the stock market's going to be at zero. But things are just going to keep happening to beat the crap out of it into the ground. It's going to be one thing after the other. Do people not see what's happening right now? Is it not one thing after the other? Everybody feels it. Whether you believe the stuff that I say or not, you listen to the channel and you're like, this guy's the worst, blah, blah, blah. Okay, do you not feel the stuff going on in the world? Who's doing it? The media, these people, they're constantly just beating us down. And they're going to beat the economy down. They're going to beat it all down. The housing industry, all of it. It's going to be a system of control. People just don't realize that. So they say the second or third day of strikes. So if it goes 3 days, losses will increase to $91 billion per day because of lost agricultural goods and food spoilage. That sounds really convenient, doesn't it? Really, really convenient. Oh, okay. So what are you going to do? You're going to do 2 weeks, a week, right? And then come out and say, oh, the government stepped in and saved the day, but there's gonna be massive shortages at grocery stores. You're getting eased into it. I said this before, with the food shortages, the toilet paper shortages, it's just an ease. Everything is an ease. They desensitize you and they ease you in. If you went to the grocery store before the 1-9er happened and there was nothing in the store, everybody would have been suspicious. Everybody would have been like panicking. But because they're easing everyone into it, they're getting people used to a new way of life. They're getting people used to not being able to have stuff. And eventually you're going to get used to rationing and lining up to get a loaf of bread. That's how they want everyone to live. And that's what their plan is. So when they do stuff like this, they could go a week. They could say the economy lost, 200 billion. So you'll see the stock market crash. Then you'll see convenient food shortages at grocery stores. There'll be there'll be shortage probably of crops. There'll be whatever they decide to do. I'm sure baby formula will be mixed into. So they say the 4 rail unions who voted down the tentative agreement with U.S. freight railroads have set a joint strike date of December 9th. So that's when we'll see what they decide to do. And again, sometimes they do this stuff and they will decide, okay, we're not going to go this route because too many people get on. But this story, not a lot of people are discussing, right? I mean, you hear the mainstream media like blowing up about this, that the economy could crash $91 billion a day. Do you know what that would do to people who have money in the stock market? It could bankrupt them. Do you know what it would do, to like the grocery store? I mean, it would be shortages like we haven't seen yet. Right? So it should be the main topic and the main thing of concern, but it's not. Again, the main things of concern are who can go to the bathroom and which bathroom. It's complete insanity. That's how they're getting away with this stuff, because people are distracted and fighting over literally insanity. They're coming up with the most insane crap that they can think of, and they're like, can you believe that they're actually arguing over this? You believe that people are actually defending putting freak shows in the libraries, going after kids? I mean, it's literal insanity. While our economy, while our supply chain, all of it gets nailed. And nobody notices because it's not all done at a level where, oh, McDonald's is now closed or this is now closed, and people start getting, whoa, wait a minute, what? It's just little by little, it's gone, and then they come in and they go, it's rationing time. I mean, they've done it before with gas in the 70s. They've rationed gas. Cars lined up for miles, literally miles, to get gas. They've done it with, after World War II, I believe it was, or during it, with food rationing. And that's what they want to do. It's going to be their Soylent food product. This food's going to be gone. I mean, they're already prepping people to eat, cockroaches. And people they go, that's extreme. That's ridiculous. Because they don't want to believe that the government's actually doing it. All you got to do is look at China. Google it. Look at what's going on over there. They're still on lockdown, by the way. People don't even realize that. I just told somebody the other day they're still on lockdown. They were like, what? They're completely locked down still. Why? From the 9er. Still. You know how insane that is? That's what they're emulating. All these leaders get together, at the World Economic Forum, the G7 or whatever they were just at, and they're like, man, China's doing it right. China did it right. We got to follow what they're doing. They're talking about everything China's doing. They're talking about communism. And there's actually complete mind-controlled fools in this country that think we would be better off in a communist country. It's freaking nuts. Nuts. So I'll keep an eye on this. December 9th is supposedly the date where there'll be something done by. Last time they delayed the strike in September, there was supposed to be one. Everyone was like, well, Biden delayed the strike because voting was coming up, right? So it's not so they can give the illusion that your vote counts, and the Democratic people, he saved the day with the railroad, so people should vote for vote. It's all part of the game. It's a giant psychological operation. We're all being mined. The word begins with an R, and it goes AP, and then you can finish the rest. Aped. That's what they're doing to everybody. So, no surprise, there'll be an economy crash and there'll be a food shortage because it's just going to continue on this way. People thought it was over with the other stuff. No, it was just the beginning. And we're in the next phases of it now. I thank everyone for being here. Hope you're doing well. God bless you and your families.